Hi, welcome to my channel. Subscribe, set the notification bell, share, and like. Hi. So this is a delayed rant. Ke tlo rata. I'm going to complain and raise issues. Even though this happened 3 days ago on Saturday, it's still very, very relevant. So, just to clarify, the event was on the 18th of January. I created this video on the 21st of January, 4 days later, and I'm posting this video 12 days later on the 29th of January. I have notes to make sure that I don't, kev too much. So yeah, on Saturday, I went for an event. Basically, I found out about this event, I think Thursday last week, which is about how many days ago? 5 days ago. And it is a library, an archive of collections of people who've had an impact in society, such as musical artists, blah 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 blah. So it's an archive that has vinyls, posters. It has both public publications as well as private collections, so people who might have bought items of these historical people who've made a difference. And this library is in Braamfontein, Johannesburg, South Africa. I've been hearing about it for a while, and the library is called the Library of Things We Forget to Remember. A very clever term as well. And I just want to make sure that I'm clear with why I do what I'm doing. It is to expose, for the purposes of us starting to rethink spaces and how they affect persons with disabilities, ne? So that's the purpose why I'm doing these sort of videos. It's gonna be a series based on the different spaces that I go to, ne? So this past Saturday, it was to commemorate Sister Brenda Fassie. She was an international musician. She passed away, and it was her commemoration. So she passed away 2004, which is 20 years ago. Yeah, and this was going to be at this venue, the Library of Things We Forget to Remember. It was going to be a talk, and it was around the life of Sis Brenda Fassie. For international audiences, and like many South Africans, the most popular song of hers was I Am No Weekend Special. And, like so many of us South Africans and Africans, she held a very special place in our lives and our hearts. She made a huge impact in the music industry. And for me, it was about, observing a woman being so independent and expressive. And, during that time, during her most popular days in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, standing up for herself, even just the lyrics, I'm No Weekend Special. It was just emphasizing her independence and expressiveness as a woman. So yeah, my aim, therefore, of going to this talk at the Library of Things we Forget to Remember was to be part of that, atmosphere and people engaging about the life of Sis Brenda Fassie. Like I said, I found out about the event, I think Thursday or so. Last week was the first week of schools reopening in South Africa, public schools. And look, I'm a parent. You get very busy supporting your child to get ready for school and ensure things that go well. She's been at home for 51 days or something like that. So it's about acclimatizing to returning to school, and her starting her latest grade. I'm trying to get the light here. So I was busy, and for those who are familiar with my content know that, my health affects all aspects of my life, and tremendous stress, even just stress in general, has quite an impact on my health. So I didn't plan to go to the talk. But then came Saturday, I was like, you know what, I don't feel too bad. I think I want to go and attend this event. I was excited about it. And then I thought, no, let me just look up online whether the venue is wheelchair accessible. The venue is at 44 Stanley. Those who are not familiar with it, it's a very artsy, it has an artsy vibe, very intimate setup. The whole 44 Stanley, I think, is about 2 blocks or 1 block, call it that. There's different shops of fashion designers, fine artists, including the library. So I was like, okay, I think let me go, because I haven't been there. I've been wanting to go for a very long time. So this was just perfect. I then went online on Facebook, because I found out about the event on Facebook. I wrote a comment to the shared post. I was like, okay, hello, is the venue wheelchair accessible? And then I'm like, okay, let me also check them on Instagram. And then I didn't inbox them, but I replied to the advertisement of the event on the page. I asked the same question as I did on Facebook: is the venue wheelchair accessible? I never got a reply. And I was thinking, okay, look, I still want to go. And I felt, okay, let me be a little fair, because I asked the questions, I think, an hour and a half or 2 hours before the talk was going to start. And I was like, you know what, let me just go and figure it out there. When I get there, parking, there was disability parking, but it was so full. I didn't get a disability parking, but I was able to park with the assistant of the parking assistants. I took 2 spots so that I have space to exit my car. All right, I went with my daughter there. Arrived at the venue 44 Stanley. The area is accessible, is wheelchair accessible. It is tricky though. Now I'm just illustrating to you some of the videos I took. The ramps tend to be quite narrow, and then there's certain points where it's not a ramp, but they put when they smoothen out a step so that it slopes a bit. But it's not a ramp like we know what a ramp is. So I was able to navigate quite, somehow I was able to. And then when I got to the venue of the library, after being shown where it is, I wasn't able to go in there. It had 2 flights of stairs. Okay. Now, for those who are familiar with my content, know that I'm a wheelchair user, so I'm a public wheelchair user. I only utilize my wheelchair when I go out. At home, I utilize a walker, as well as a stick or a crutch. But in public, a wheelchair works much better for me because I suffer from dynamic disabilities. If you want to know what that is, just scroll down my page to get more of an idea. 2 flights of stairs. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I didn't take the videos of where the library is because I was was right on time and I didn't want to miss any minutes of the talk. And I asked my daughter to just go upstairs and go take the video of the area where the talk is taking place by the library. Then I came across a couple of people who were attending the talk. And then I don't remember how it happened, but we ended up talking like, hey, Batung, I want to go to the event, but I can't because it's a flight of stairs. And I remember sharing because I'm a very open person. I was like, no, I can walk, but I need assistance. But I didn't have my caregiver there. And I have challenges with getting help from other people, especially when my caregiver is not there. It's because my caregiver knows what to do, and I remember that the lady who was like, no, let me go call people up there in the library. Maybe if we can have 2 men try to come help you. I was like, you know what, leave it. And I'm always afraid when my caregiver is not there because it's somebody I trust and it's somebody who understands the challenges that come with my health conditions and who knows what to do and to do it properly. Outside of my caregiver, it's nurses and medical people whom it's easier to navigate spaces with that are not accessible. And I was like, besides me being taken up those stairs, it's also about the wheelchair. My wheelchair is incredibly heavy. It's between 50 and 70 kg. I don't remember. It has 2 batteries, so one battery and the other one is for backup. Those 2 batteries, I think, each weigh 15k, and then the whole wheelchair by itself is more than 20k, something like around that. Yeah. I've had people who handle my wheelchair who've ruined it. Yeah, I don't want to get into that too much because I want to go on this rant. So I'm doing this video to say, and like I said, it's part of a series, so I'm going to be talking about other spaces that are not accommodative, and I want to also emphasize the fact that I am referring to wheelchair specific. I'm not necessarily covering people who are deaf, people who are blind, people with who are light sensitive, who have epilepsy, etc. I'm just talking about wheelchair access. Just a reminder to service providers and spaces or venues that as persons with disabilities we differ. Okay, I'm someone who enjoys intimate spaces, very chilled vibes, jazz lounge, quiet places when I go out. Now and then, I can do a groove. I can go to the club, but I can go to a club like once or twice a year and I'm good. But most of the time I prefer chilled vibes, go to the museum and whatever. I'm saying this, that that's what I like, right? To another person with disabilities, it might sound boring as hell. So we differ. We are like everybody else, the people who enjoy drinking and those who don't. The same with persons with disabilities. So never assume spaces to cover only pre-abled people. I'll define this term another time, but non-disabled people, basically. We always need to consider spaces for persons with disabilities, right? Because we all have different interests. We might be a cohort of people, but we differ. Personalities, interests, etc. I wrote notes on the side so that I don't blabber unnecessarily. Let me put on my spectacles. And then there's another video of mine that I shared that relates to waiting and the issue of waiting. And how persons with disabilities, when you're a person with disabilities, you will wait for responses, you will wait for queries, you will wait to be serviced, because oftentimes spaces are not conducive or accommodative. So with the messages that I wrote, the messages I wrote on the Facebook and Instagram of the, is it the library or the 44 Stanley, I never got a response. it's very important that your reply indicate or know, yes, we have, for example, with the venue on Saturday, they could have said, listen, the venue 44 Stanley is accessible for wheelchair, right? However, the library, unfortunately, it is not. It's important to say that, right? Because it's 3 days later today, I haven't got a reply. Even if the event has passed, say something. And you can further say, right, FD, can you give us advice? So what do you think is possible for wheelchair access to the library, right? You can consult with NGOs, organizations that work with disabilities across the board, so that you get advice and see what you can do to make your spaces accessible, right? First thing is understanding that persons with disabilities will differ. We have different interests. We are diverse in our personalities, and what makes us happy, what we want to do in the world, right? The second thing then is respond, say something, indicate whether your space is accessible or not, and follow it up with how can we make sure that spaces are inclusive. The third thing then is bringing me to, and I've talked about this as well, that when we go out as persons with disabilities, we have to take in, we have to consider additional measures of whether the spaces we're going to go to is accessible. And the thing is, one of the things that I have the I have the perspective of being someone who was pre-abled before my health challenges 4 years ago, as well as now a new perspective on things after my health challenges. And it's a completely different experience when I go out. I have to make plans regarding, how I want to dress up, who's going to accompany me, and am I going to go with a friend, or is it just going to be me and my daughter, or is it just going to be by myself? And when I arrive there, is the place inclusive? And one of the main things that we experience as persons with disabilities is social loneliness, right? And I'm saying social loneliness because, don't come to the comment section saying loneliness is it's not really about other people, it's about you. Are you comfortable with being with yourself? I'm good. I appreciate who I am as a person, but there is a need for socializing. And I've also shared about the fact that I'm an extrovert and really do very well in interacting with people and need that, and that did not go away after my conditions. So there is a severe social loneliness that comes with it, and I'm not talking about romantic loneliness either. So but that need of just socializing and being in the world, interacting in different spaces, and the interests that I have. So when you then have spaces that do not, that are not inclusive, it further alienates me. So it just adds to the frustration that I already experience of severe loneliness, because my body can only handle a certain level of activities than it did before, lower levels of activities. So I'm already experiencing loneliness and frustration. So the world and environments that I have an interest in exploring, if they're not inclusive, they further alienate me. They further ostracize us. So it becomes a very frustrating thing when I find out about an event. It becomes frustrating because I can't be as, I also have that part of me that's very, I don't necessarily plan everything that I want to do. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like doing this. Let me just go. So it impedes the possibility of doing that, because then I have to check whether where I'm going is inclusive. And then it further alienates me because the talk continued. That session at Brenda Fassie, it took place. It happened. And while I was there, after my daughter took a video just to show me, because I still wanted to even see something during that session. And my daughter is quite young, so and she's not even a teenager yet, so she couldn't even sit there by herself and then videotape the thing for me. And then, even then, that creates a barrier of being with people and being in that environment while the talk takes place, and admiring and absorbing all the posters and the vinyls, the public and the private collection on Sis Brenda Fassie. It still creates that distance. I can't be there. I'm losing my trail of thinking. So, that just adds to the layer of frustration and alienation. And I ended up just hanging out around 44 Stanley and did other things. So the talk continued, but I'm still left behind and could not experience something that I would have truly enjoyed. I was imagining what sort of things they were discussing, and just exploring the life of Sis Brenda, and appreciating her contribution that she made in the music industry. The woman also sang political songs. I missed all of that. So please, when it comes to spaces, they're not helpful if they are not inclusive, and I always feel like I'm being left behind, and the fact that then you get ignored when you ask, is this inclusive, is this venue inclusive or not? So that's my rant. There'll be more coming. And like I said, it's not to bash institutions or spaces. It is to really open our minds to understanding the lives of persons with disabilities. And I also want to leave on this note that a reminder that when you consider persons with disabilities, it's what you're also doing is you're doing it for humanity, not just because persons with disabilities are people too, but because all of us, each and every one of us, at some point have an experience of being disabled. And I speak of disabled as a socio-economic and political condition. When you get injured, when you injure your hand from the kitchen while you're trying to make a nice meal, and you cut your finger, even if you put a little bandage on or you need stitches, you realize how much that body part is so important to your being when you are unwell, and you have to take time off work, but you only have limited amount of time, sick leave, if you are privileged enough to be employed, and then you have to go back to work, even though you're unwell. When you have certain things happen to you, where you're so impaired that you require support and assistance, and for that period you are disabled by environments which are not conducive, which are not inclusive, which are not considerate. So I want to also leave it on that note that when you are being considerate and inclusive of persons with disabilities, you're doing it for all of us. Thank you for your time.